being driven by software. I mean, if you even think about your home, if you have a Nest thermostat, the only thing it's doing is really you're adding a software or a smart software layer on top of your thermostat. So you don't actually now control it on your cell phone. You can use it through the internet. You can do anything you want through the software. And so this change is the change that has been happening for the last 20 years. So 20 years ago, VMware was explaining to the world, hey, you need to virtualize your servers. Seekers were saying you need to virtualize your desktops. And people had resistance. It took us probably 10 years to the point where, for example, database administrators were confident enough to put their databases on a VMware machine. But now nobody will think about using bare metal on applications unless there's a very good reason. Like probably 10% of applications really belong on bare metal servers. Right? So the world has moved to virtualize on the server side and on the desktop side a long time ago. And then if you think about cloud, it's exactly the same thing, right? The cloud is basically a software layer that is virtualized and allows you to control those resources in a pool based on an API or a control panel. And those are shared resources, right? So it's basically a software layer on top of an infrastructure that you're renting from Amazon on a very small basis. And so the ultimate evolution of this is being software defined, or maybe a better way of thinking about it is that's the underlying change, is that everything is becoming software defined. So your thinking in IT needs to be more about how do I build those software layers that allow me to take control over the hardware, so I break those dependencies on the individual hardware technologies and in the individual vendors. In storage, for example, again in our space, storage is a huge part of most IT budgets. Probably 30 to 40% of IT budgets are spent in storage, according to Forrester or Gartner. And it doesn't make sense, but the thing is, it's a really good business for the storage companies because they tell you, look, if you're IBM and you're using an IBM XIB systems, hey, sorry, that model you're using is out of warranty, you need to buy a new one. The new one is going to have this new whatever technology is going to be another $1 million, right? They'll send you an invoice, and what are you going to do? I mean, if the system is out of warranty, you need to refresh it. So most of the industries in this mode of every 3 years you need to buy a new one. And even some vendors are saying, look, we're going to rent it to you so you just basically have a meter going all the time. And some have I think it's called greenfield opportunities, where they say basically, sign up for this program, in 3 years we'll actually include the refresh for another 3 years, so you're basically committing your life to 6 years with a vendor, which doesn't make any sense when you know how quickly things are changing, right? So when you add a software layer, you have freedom for hardware. You're not locked into a vendor. For example, do you know what brand servers Amazon is using? Nobody cares, right? Most IT people don't even know what servers they're using now from a compute perspective, because whether you're using a Dell or HP or Supermicro or white level, it really doesn't matter. And it's flexible, because just like you can create or kill a server with one click, or you can create a subnet on if you're using virtualized networking, you can the same way create storage or anything you want to do. You have the ultimate flexibility. And it's all integrated because the software layer allows you to have a single control plane over your entire infrastructure, not only in one data center, but across multiple data centers, across different geographies, right? And it allows you to be highly available, because then, like we were talking about the cloud, you can create copies of your servers in different locations, and you have high availability between them. The same happens with networks, the same happens with storage, and even desktops, right? So there are a number of benefits that make everything become smarter when you make it software defined, like we were talking about the Nest thermostats. And so if you think about software defined, the category that some of the analyst firms call is software defined infrastructure, and you can see there are multiple categories down there. There's software defined infrastructure, security, storage, recovery, etc., high-performance servers, etc. But the interesting thing I want to call attention to is these are the projections for the end of this year. By the end of this year, only 11% of companies have no plans to use, this is obviously enterprise, right, partner. 11% of companies are not planning on using software-defined storage, meaning 89% of companies will be using software-defined storage. That is 1 point higher than public cloud. So if you think that public cloud is taking over the world, what Gartner is saying is that 1% more of large enterprises are going to adopt software-defined storage, as an example, than the cloud itself. So, and if you look across the board, it's pretty evident that the majority of companies are going software-defined in the enterprise. Software-defined networking, surprisingly, is one of the ones that has a tremendously high adoption, right? Private cloud, I think, also private cloud is one of those things that is, a lot of people may not think they have a private cloud, but if you're using virtualized servers, which are software controlled, VMware is basically a software layer, and you have your servers in a co-location environment, you're pretty much cloud. It's like, at that point you're almost talking about networks, right? So this is a trend that's happening. It might not be completely evident, but I think there's still many companies that are still thinking from a hardware perspective. And so a software-centric model changes everything. In our case, you can work across different storage systems, across different network types. So whether the company is using iSCSI or Fiber Channel or whatever technology, it becomes completely irrelevant. And you can pool all your storage systems. Storage and servers are like Tetris, right? You have a big server and you put an application or VM and you put another one, and then instead of start creating those holes. And I think the studies I've seen show that about 40% of the storage in a given company is underutilized storage. Because you have one array that's being used by developers, and that has 60% capacity, but then you have a bigger application, you put it in another array, as opposed to combining all the capacity into one pool that then you can be provisioning across the board to different places. And the other thing that's important is also the consistency of services and high availability. So because this is all software and you can see there are different arrays, you can have, we were talking about, we serve a lot of hospitals in our case, and we have a hospital system that has New Jersey and New York City, and they create a metro cluster between the two. Every time data is being stored in any storage system, our system basically sends one set of bits to New Jersey and another set of bits to New York. And that happens in less than 1 millisecond. And the application has this thing called a write acknowledgement, which is actually waiting for the thing to be written in the database. And we only tell them it's done when it's actually been written in both places simultaneously. So what that means is that even though they have completely disparate systems, different storage systems, when the Hurricane Sandy hit the hospital in New Jersey, and their IT center was underwater. Imagine you're a hospital, right? And there's a hurricane hitting, so you have more people coming in. You can't tell people, well, you know what, we cannot enter your information, we cannot check your pre-existing conditions, can you come back tomorrow, right? When we draw up our data center. The guys in IT were doing other things, and the system continued working because they were able to get data from the other data center completely transparently. So that level of availability is only possible when you have this smart storage layer on top.